Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at what if Donald Trump never won the 2024 election? What if he lost and Kamala Harris had ended up winning the election, surpassing 270 electoral votes? Now what we know is that Trump ended up getting the victory with 312 electoral votes, so greater than his 2016 victory, and Kamala Harris ended up getting 226 electoral votes. So how she would have won is she could have flipped three states, and that may seem like, oh, she wasn't far away from flipping three states, but if you take a look, the closest state she got was like 1%. That is, the closest state that she ended up losing it was 1%, and that was Wisconsin. So if you take a look at Michigan or Pennsylvania, for example, Donald Trump won that by well over 1 percentage point. So, but if you want to take a look at a different type of standpoint based on popular vote, overall popular vote, it was actually closer. She managed to get 75 million votes. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss all my content. Press the like button, share this video, don't forget we have memberships if you're interested. You can find the links to that in the description section. So right off the bat, what if Kamala Harris ended up winning the election and Trump never won? Now, if you're Kamala Harris, I believe she can make the case that the reason why she lost is because she didn't have enough time. And she didn't undergo a primary, which would have given her more time. Voters didn't really get to know her. I mean, she tried to do last-second interviews, which ended up being miserable, and she only had 3 months. So if you're Kamala Harris, your argument would be that simply you just did not have enough time. And if you had more time, voters would have gotten to know you better, and maybe that way she could have actually defeated Donald Trump. Now, I'm not necessarily going to agree with that. I think even if let's say she won the primary in January, which even if she got through a primary, she probably would not have won because she barely got past like 3% in the 2020 Democratic primaries. Maybe she could have won. But if she would have won, defeated Donald Trump, and he would have lost, she would have to flip Wisconsin. I think that's part of her pathway because that was the closest state that I believe she ended up losing, came within 0.9% to be exact. That's the margin Trump won it by. Wisconsin, surprisingly, shockingly enough, voted to the left of Michigan and Pennsylvania, which usually does not happen. So I believe that was the closest. So she would have flipped Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes, getting her 236 closer, but still not enough to win. And another state she would have to flip, I believe she would come close to flipping Michigan. Let's just say she would have won Michigan, and the only reason why Trump won it, you can argue or make the case, is because of what happened with Gaza. The Arab vote really swayed in Trump's favor in the 2024 election, which usually does not happen. It's the one time where it did, and it got Trump to win the state of Michigan with, I believe it's 15 electoral votes. So let's just say those types of voters probably, I think they regret voting for him now because they just realized that Trump is no better on the issue of Gaza than Biden was, even though he was facing Kamala Harris, not Biden. But Kamala Harris was still tied to Biden, which is why she ended up losing. Because voters didn't see a difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. That's the main reason why she lost. So maybe if those types of voters in Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, for example, knew that Trump would not have been better on the issue of Gaza, then maybe they would have not voted for Trump. Not necessarily voted for Harris, but not voted for Trump, and that maybe would have given Harris the victory. I'm not saying that would be the case, but that's part of her pathway, getting her to 251 electoral votes. Her only path is through the Rust Belt because if you take a look at the election results, the Sun Belt was completely locked down for Donald Trump. He won the South. He won Nevada by 3 points. He won Arizona by over 5. Which was surprising, even greater than his 2016 victory, which is why I believe the election was not really close because he did better in 2024 than he did in 2016. And you can argue 2016 was a very good victory for him. And then Georgia, he won it by 2, which I believe Kamala Harris actually honestly could have won that. The state's actually shifting towards the left. But in terms of if she would have won, I don't think Georgia would be part of her pathway. I think it would be more so like Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin, probably the Rust Belt. Trump won North Carolina by 3 percentage points. So you can see from those margins alone that if she would have won the election, it would not be through the Sun Belt. It would be through the Rust Belt. A little bit closer, even though Trump did have a great performance in the Rust Belt as well. But Pennsylvania, by far, was the reddest Rust Belt state of the three. It voted to the right of Michigan and Wisconsin. The main reason why for that is because of his failed assassination attempt. It happened in Butler County, which is right next door to Pittsburgh County. And that alone drove voters to the polls, and also the Amish vote really turned out for Donald Trump significantly, and they don't usually turn out. So, and that alone, those factors I just mentioned got Donald Trump to win the election. It was the fact that he got voters that don't normally typically turn out to vote for him, and especially voters that don't usually vote Republican. Because if you take a look at the Arab vote in Michigan, they don't normally vote for a candidate like Donald Trump, and they did it the one time, and that's exactly a reason that got him elected. Same thing with the Amish vote, for example. And then he also did tremendous with Hispanic voters. Nearly won Hispanic men, by the way. I believe he did, actually. He won 55% of Hispanic men, and then won 45 of the overall, including women as a total. So those factors really got him elected. Now, if they knew that his immigration policy was going to be I would say this harsh, I honestly was expecting it to be even harder than what it is now. I mean, if you take a look at the deportation numbers, it's not really that much. But if she got Pennsylvania, which I don't think she would have, but let's say she won the election, she would get 270 electoral votes. If she would have won, she would have narrowly won. It was going to be close no matter what. So this is the exact map. What if Kamala Harris ended up defeated Donald Trump? What if he lost the election? What if he never won 2024? Which I don't think this would happen. But, if she would have won 270 to 268, this is the map if she would have ended up winning the election. She would have won the 3 Rust Belt states. Meanwhile, Trump won the South. Now, this is not what happened. He ended up winning Wisconsin by a tilt margin of under a percentage point. He won Michigan by a lean margin of 1.4%. He won Pennsylvania by 1.8%, a lean margin. This was the realistic outcome. 312 instead of 268 if he would have ended up losing. So, if you want to take a look at the individual percentage of all the battleground swing states, it looks like he won by a very big margin. But if you want to take a look at a different perspective or standpoint and take a look at the popular vote instead, it would be closer because she still managed to get 75 million votes, which is shocking to me. A candidate that only ran for 3 months, campaigned for 3 months, managed to get 75 million votes, which it goes to show you that maybe she has a chance in 2028. I'm not saying she's going to win the Democratic primaries, but maybe she does have a chance. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Do you think that maybe Kamala Harris could have won the 2024 election if maybe for example, the Arab voters in Michigan knew that Trump would not be better than a Kamala Harris or Joe Biden administration on the issue of Gaza? Maybe if Hispanic voters regret making their decision based on his current policies on immigration, maybe if the Amish vote didn't come out and help Trump, and also maybe if he did not have a failed assassination attempt, maybe all those factors I just mentioned would not have happened. Maybe it would not drive voters it would not have driven voters to the polls. Therefore, Kamala Harris could have won. Let me know if you think that could have happened. But one last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss all my content. Press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find a link to that in the description section. Thank you everyone for watching.